Hi, I'm Mark Hennick, and this is So-Called Normal. Today on the show, we have Tom Regehr. Tom's the executive director of an organization called CAST, somebody that I've been working with for the last little while, and he's some really fascinating insights, I thought, on things like addiction and trauma, and his story is so deep and so real. You know, you may not have heard of him before, but I promise you won't forget him after this. You know, some of the stuff we talked about really reminded me of the things in my own childhood around the ideas of masculinity and what it means to be a man, and that old school kind of approach to how he grew up. I heard so many times when I was a kid from people in my life, be a man, you know, suck it up, and it was always meant to be a compliment. Oh, you've been a real man today about it. Well, what does that even mean, and what does it do to people? And yeah, I think you'll get a lot from Tom's conversation about that. It's real, it gets gritty, so I'll warn you of that, but I hope you enjoy it. Stay for the whole thing if you can. It'll be great. So here's my conversation with Tom Regehr.
My name's Tom Regehr, and I was born in the suburbs and had a traditional suburb family. Mom stayed home. Dad worked. He worked in the automotive sector. A brother 6 years older, a sister 3 years older. I was the youngest. And, as an adult, I had a manic energy, high energy career. By the time I was 28, I was, a successful and sought-after consultant.
Doing what?
Construction management.
Okay.
But I learned later it was, I got a lot of work. And I didn't have to advertise. I mean, I had cards. But I learned later that people really struggled with hiring me or not.
Why? Why do you think they struggled?
I didn't know this, but I was pretty independent.
Right.
And I was a real wild card. I had a reputation for saying, fuck that, fuck you, and walking out of meetings.
Right.
And I didn't know I had a reputation for that. I mean, I did it when it was necessary.
Right.
And I just thought it was once in a while here and there, but I had a tendency of just saying, your ideas are crazy, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Or, I want this much money, or I'm going home. Or phone him, don't phone me.
Right.
But then the addiction took hold. There was trauma in my family. When I was in grade 2, that fall, she had her first, quote, nervous breakdown.
Your mother did?
Yeah, my mother did.
Yeah.
So I jump and I wonder, and I speculated with her, and we don't know for sure, but she got married, had my brother, 2 years later had my sister, 3 years later had me, and then, grade 1 she was busy, she did books at the church, etc., and she taught kindergarten and taught music and played music, but she was left alone with her self. And that's when, so we use the phrase her trauma surfaced. And then she was better, and then she was not good. Nobody told me when I was in grade 6 the effects of Valium and overprescribed Valium.
So what did you see in your mother being overprescribed Valium? Well,
The mother, when she was healthy,
right,
was everything I described and more. She would smile and make a cake and make your sandwiches. And I always felt cared for and understood. She was vivacious, active, intelligent, and doing lots of things. And then I would come home from school. She's sitting on the couch unwashed for days. And so my mom's on the couch, but my mother, the mothering, is gone.
Right.
And the way I look at it, and my interpretation, is that the multiple losses of getting my mom back, which I did for lengths of time, and then she would have another episode.
Right.
And then she was good. And I remember one year she got a job, and everything was really good at my home. We went to Quebec. I fell asleep, and Dad told me we were in France. It was really fun. It was good. He had a raise, and we had never done anything like that. But the next year she was off.
Right. Inconsistent.
Yeah, so it was loss, you get it back, loss, you get it back. You can imagine. And so naturally, I didn't want to engage anymore.
Yeah.
And it would make sense I attached to my sister.
Okay.
And then my mother was institutionalized, and when my sister was able, she decided to move out. And I was supposed to be happy. And then my mom's mental health got worse. There were traumas in the house, physical traumas.
How long was she institutionalized for?
I think the first time was 3 weeks, then the second time was 3 months, and then the third time was 6 months, and I don't know.
Repeat, yeah. So was anything explained to you why Mom would disappear for 3 months? No.
Mom's going to a place where people are going to take care of her.
Right.
Now, I told my story once to a room full of healthcare professionals, and a woman came up to me and she said, Tom, I went to university and studied to be a psychiatrist around 1960, and that was our professional advice at the time, was to lie. And I think Kool-Aid was new. A lot of things were new back then. Tupperware was new. Plastic dishes were new. And Kool-Aid had the happy face, so they were told, put on a happy face, lie to the little boy. And that was the advice my father got. My father loved us and cared and did everything he could, right? But then, then my parents split up when I was about 18. She moved out. It was horrific. She tried several times to end her life, but always just when I was coming in the door.
Do you think that that was a decision of hers? Did she know that you were coming home?
There's no way for me to know.
Right.
But I know there were attempts when I wasn't there.
Right.
But, for a year.
Oh, but sometimes, though, it's a cry for help, right? You're doing it not because you want to die, but because you want somebody to. You're desperate in those kinds of circumstances.
There's no question.
Yeah.
Because for a while there, one fall, the pattern was just before I came in the door.
Right.
So there's multiple traumas there.
Sure.
I have very little memory except for the first responders, and I'm on my hands and knees, and I remember the boots. The flashlights. I only saw from what I saw on the floor. So the boots and the batons and the noise of the walkie-talkies. So, and then the lockdown ward.
Right. Did you visit her when she went into hospital? Did you go?
Yes.
Yeah. What was that like for you as a kid? But really, it seems to have happened all throughout your formative years to go in and see that kind of environment.
In Brampton, they had 2 basement levels for the psychiatric unit. G1 and G2. And they changed it to GA and GB because of the stigma. I thought, wow, that was great.
Still in the basement, though. They're always in the basement, it seems.
Well, yeah, so level 1 was, okay, you're having issues. Level 2 was lockdown.
Right.
So it's like another whole magnitude of severity.
Sure.
And I know when I did proper trauma therapy, about 5 years after I chose change, and with 4 years of traditional abstinence, I know that one of my most severe acute traumas, living under stress is a trauma. Living in unknowing is a trauma. But one of the acute traumas was the first time I went to see her in G2 when I was a little boy. And the doors locked, and we walked down the hall, and my dad turned and nodded, and the doors went kunk, and then zzz, opened, and then they closed behind us with a big clunk of a level of heaviness and mechanicalness that I didn't have any experience with. Right. And we were locked in between 2 sets of doors.
Yeah.
And then Dad nodded on the other side. We had kunk, zzz, the doors open on the other side. And my mom was standing there, urine-soaked, smelling vomit on her front and drooling. And that was an acute trauma for me.
Sure.
And there were probably 10, but that was one.
Yeah. So you're going through this. My God. You leave home eventually, and then you mentioned that you found a period of abstinence. But where did the addiction come into this? What did that look like for you? How did it manifest?
I just liked being drunk. I liked having beer in my hands, and I became addicted to the we are drinking, we are partying, don't worry about your feelings. And my nickname down in the street for a while was Rambling, because I was always rambling, keep moving, which was part of my distraction.
So you drank, you think, to escape, to not feel those things, it sounds like.
Not in the traditional sense.
Right.
It was more the urgency, chaos, move, have a beer. And that's why I worked. It was manic, the way I worked. It was insane, like literally. And, being drunk was okay. I went in and out of cocaine. I know I spent tens and, maybe $100,000 on coke in a couple of years.
Yeah. Working in construction all along. Now, what was that like within that context, that culture of, it's a masculine guy's guy kind of culture? Did other people know? Did other people participate in those activities with you?
To a certain extent.
Yeah.
I was over-promoted early because of a good economy. So I was hiring people that drank like I did.
Right.
In those days, we didn't drink usually till noon.
Sure.
I did on days off, but at work I didn't have any beer till lunch.
Right.
And we bought Gibson's finest whiskey because it was easier to hold the neck of the bottle when you're driving.
Practical. Wow. You don't really think about those kinds of things. Like, wow.
Yeah, and passed them out the car too.
Yeah.
At 80 miles an hour.
Yes.
So, working in construction was good. And then I was in consulting and working from home.
Right.
And, wake up, do a few lines, take a couple pills, open a beer, and get to work.
Right. How long did this go on for?
Well, every year my career progressed a little bit. I started out as a laborer, and I learned some skills from some European master gardeners that helped propel my career. And then I went to Ryerson and learned some management skills. And so I was doing project management, and I just generally took on the really tough stuff nobody else would do. And I also did some work at my desk for large corporations, large architectural firms and construction companies. But then the couple of years that I did cocaine and my drinking got right out of hand.
Sure.
And then one guy who was my very best friend, they tried so hard to help me.
What did they do?
Well, there was a tradition there to have dinners for people. Right. We would call them gratitude dinners now. And they had two to try and convince me to make change. And I just danced around them. And then he kicked me out. And that was my first homeless stint. I was about 31.
You were homeless, yeah.
Now, at that point, I had a car.
Right.
And I don't even know what happened to that car. And then I had a truck somewhere else, and I went and got the truck, and I put the plates from the car on it. That was bad. And then I wrapped it around a pole at about, 60 or 70K.
Drunk? Hi.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And
so people are trying these interventions with you then, and you're not in a place where you can recognize it. What did the bottom look like? When did rock bottom come, or is that what it took?
Well, my point of change, because, there's that concept out there that everybody has to find their own bottom. So let's let him find his own bottom. I rail against that idea.
Yeah, why?
Well, it's a sentence to death.
Right.
There is always a way to intervene. There's always a way to intervene. So I was utterly homeless and standing on a street waiting for a soup kitchen to open, and a woman that was a client of mine 10 years before, she walked up, and I was a mess. But I was wearing construction boots, and I had the standard shtick of, I just got in from, we finished a job in the East End, and, so I'm sort of at wit's end. She said, where are you living? I said, I don't know yet. I just got back into town. She said, well, I have an apartment you can live in for 3 months in return for some work. So I hadn't been regularly housed or fed for a long time. Now, by then, I was street entrenched. I had othered, the verb to other things. I had othered regular people. And that apartment had a nice bed in it. I didn't sleep in the bed. Beds are for other people. Beds are for regular people. I slept on the floor. But while I was there, I had some sober time, craving, not by choice. If I had money, I drank. And I was able to get some welfare financial assistance, so I have several 3 and 4 day periods with no memory at all there. But I had a moment of clarity, as they say. And I was laying on the floor coming out of a bender, and I literally couldn't move. Whatever happens to your body physiologically. There's a bit of humor there because I had to go to the bathroom really bad. And I couldn't move. And I knew what to do when this happened. I know how to get out of it, but I couldn't. And then I decided to let it go in my pants because I was going to burst.
Right.
And then it wouldn't go. And I started to laugh. Oh, that hurt. I was laying there laughing. Oh, it hurts. Ow. And when it hurt, it made me laugh. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I thought it was hilarious, frankly. But while I was laying there, I was thinking about I had been obsessing on ending my life, and I had 2 plans. And there was a building nearby that was about 9 stories tall, and there was always a bin out back. I was going to skydive into the bin when it was half full, and I obsessed on that. And I had another very complicated plan. For some reason, I thought it was very important that nobody find my body. That was a given. It was insane. And I was laying there, and I couldn't move. I was relatively coherent in my brain.
Yeah. In my experience, you always feel coherent in your brain. I'm not sure it's always true, though.
Yeah, and sometimes you think you're really clear, and it's, what are you, nuts?
Yeah.
And it's your craziest friend saying that. That's bad.
Yeah.
Watch me go.
Yeah.
But I did have a bit of clear thinking, and I was thinking about suicide, and I was thinking about the fact that I was over 30. I never in a million years thought I'd live to be 30.
Really?
Oh, no.
Why?
I thought I'd be dead.
Yeah,
The way we were living and the way we drove fast and we just did shit, and I didn't care.
Right.
One of the reasons I didn't get killed is because I would, some guys say, I'm going to kill you. I'd look them right in the eyes, I don't give a fuck. And then stand like utterly defensive, like, you know how to stand when you're going to get in a fight. And then just say, you know what, I don't care. And, I didn't get killed. And, but laying there, I was thinking about all this and how old I was. And of all the various characters that go on in my head that are me, sometimes I talk about having different personalities. When I was about 26, somebody made a comment in a bar, and I was unemployed that winter. And, no, I guess I would have been about 30. And my friend said, oh, yeah, well, that's Tommy. The problem is he's got 7 personalities, but the problem is 6 of them are unemployable. Right? That's when the real me talks.
Yeah.
So there's a voice in my head that hardly ever talks. It's deep, it's low, it's timeless. And it comes out once in a while. It's part of me, and I was laying there and it said, Tom, you are handy. You're the guy that can get anything done. If you wanted to be dead, you would be dead by now. So what are you going to do? And so the what are you going to do came with a lot of expectation.
Right.
And that was my point of change.
Yeah.
I didn't want to die anymore after that. And then I became scared. Because when you think you're going to die, and you're going to die soon anyway, I know I was flying off the road in a car, and I believed I was going to die. There was a block wall right there.
Sure.
I was going 70 miles an hour sideways. I smiled. Well, it's been a good run. I got cancer diagnosis. I'm like, oh, well, been a good run. Right? But then I didn't want to die anymore.
Right.
And I didn't know how to live. So there I was, like 34, homeless, suicidal, part of the wholly unwashed, no social skills. I've alienated everybody, right? Told them to fuck off. I defrauded for money everybody who would even say hello to me. So I was lonely and scared.
Sure. So where do you go from there, from that place? How do you restart? How do you rebuild?
At that point, I was lucky for a couple of reasons. Over that time, before I came homeless and suicidal in 35 or whatever, I think there's the other unsureness about the actual time scale.
Sure. I mean, imagine, especially in that place in your head, time does funny things.
Yeah. When I was about 3 years into my change, I had a 4x8 whiteboard, and I tried to do a chronology. So 2 things are true. There's a year and a half with no memory at all at that time. Now it's all either a blur or gone. And then memories that were actually physically impossible. Like being with that woman in that place. But when I worked there, I hadn't met her yet. And they're as real as my other memories. So you have to qualify that.
Right.
If, I write a book, A lot of this might be true.
Right. Yeah, as far as I know, most of it is true.
Here's the way I remember it today.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So that recovery then, was it an hallelujah, come to Jesus kind of moment and everything?
No, the I don't want to die piece. But what I started to say is I had reached out for help before.
Okay.
Yeah. And, if this was a comedy, we would have to put in the scene where I was only like 24. I mean, I know I went in wearing a suit jacket, for Christ's sake. Or no, I owned one. I didn't wear it. But I owned one. So I must have been doing okay. I phoned the addiction agency and I said, I need help. I can't quit drinking.
Yeah.
And they said, okay, well, come in. We'll let you talk to so-and-so. So they put me in his office, and then he comes in behind me, and I did what we used to call drink for the judge, right? So when you go to court, you got to be at your best. So you can't be craving and you can't be loaded. So generally for me at that time was 8 or 10 beers, a bit of port, you know what I mean? It was just rounded off. So I reeked of booze, fresh booze and old booze. And he comes in and he looks down and says, you've been drinking. And I'm like, buddy, I phoned because he said, I can't help you if you're drinking. I said, well, I'm here because, he said, but you've been drinking. I can't help you.
I can't help you stop drinking.
Until you quit.
Until you stop drinking. That's doing half his work for him. That's doing all of his work for him.
I've always been proud that I'm not a violent man.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh.
I've never actually hit anybody.
Yeah.
I've never been violent.
Yeah.
So that prick, he turned his back on me and literally polished his golf trophies with a white cloth and asked me to leave. And I wanted to punch him. I wanted to punch him right in the back of the head. The way I'd seen on the street, lots of people punch each other. Yeah. And I've never wanted to hurt anybody before. Yeah. And I was so disappointed in myself. I cried and cried. Do you think I went back really soon? Right. Besides, fuck that, fuck you. Like, just, no. Go dead. Like, all of it. Yeah. So the idea of reaching out for help, your middle finger sort of comes out of your hand by itself. Yeah. It's just, and your lip curls.
When you're hesitant to go back then because of that experience, right? And then you go for the next 10 years, 5 or 10 years, getting progressively worse, it sounds like.
Yeah. The thing is, I knew about how to ask for help. Right. And because I am a genius, and I know all the things that matter, that's what you do when you're homeless, is sit with your buddies and solve all the problems.
Right, solve all the world problems.
Oh, yeah.
A bunch of geniuses sitting around. Yeah.
Well, have you heard the phrase genius at the car wash?
No.
There was a song in the 60s because, at the car wash, whoever shows up first gets your thing, right? And so everybody's there all, messy and, part of the wholly unwashed and all that stuff. But we stand there. Well, if Trudeau the first Trudeau.
Yeah, sure.
If Trudeau just did this, right? And, it's bad. Yeah. But in my genius, I knew that if you said you were an addict, you got help faster than if you said you were just mental. Right. And I knew I was mental. I knew I was messy. I knew I was messed up. So I phoned an addiction agency. And I actually knew, because I did so much work with them as a client, the Region Appeal phone number, 799-7800. And the phone had just gone from 25 to 50 cents, which just about broke me all the time. That changed my life. And they made an appointment for me, and I went. And this was one of the most beautiful things in the world. They had a new program. And oh my God, they were proud of themselves. So this would be 27 years ago, 28 years ago, I don't know. They did the oh my God, sit up straight, make a face like you're getting a reward from the Queen, and say, I do harm reduction. Anyway. They were very
So talk a little bit about what harm reduction is versus abstinence. And
abstinence-based is you must quit, and you must quit now. Yeah. Harm reduction is we're not going to ask you to fully abstain. We're going to reduce the harm in your practices. And that's saved my life. I got 8 months of excellent, high-quality care with no pressure to actually quit. His name was Raj Sohi. He now works at CAMH. And during that time, Raj was so gentle. He didn't take any shit. He didn't give me any shit. But he had a really good sense of, I'm the professional. Right. You've come for help. What does that look like for you?
It sounds like he was secure in his role as a helper, not trying to control you.
And he didn't go to too many workshops and talk funny.
Right.
Does that make sense to you?
Yes, it does. He was a human being talking to another human being.
Yeah, and utterly calm.
Yeah.
And he didn't have to act what's that word? Non-judgmental.
Right.
He didn't have to act non-judgmental. He was non-judgmental.
Right.
And he didn't take any shit from me. This is as important as everything else.
Right.
And over that 8 months, I came to the conclusion. I tried to quit a few times. Mm-hmm. Some of the horror stories, some of the things I can't talk about without consulting a lawyer, making them public, happened during that scary, scary time.
What was harder to quit, the booze or the coke?
I was off coke totally by then.
You were? Okay.
And I had been into opiates.
Okay.
In a serious way. Oxys weren't out yet, but perks were on the street.
Yeah.
And by far my favorite high, I could have all the money in the world, a handful of perks and a 12-pack, and I was golden. Yeah. Because the opiates kill emotional pain.
Right.
Opiates kill emotional pain as well as they kill physical pain.
So you have a special insight then into the opioid crisis that we're facing now with people dying everywhere.
Yeah, and remember what I said about dying? This might kill you. So what we would say in the support groups later was, I'm busy trying barely to die anyway.
Right.
We talked about that the goal of the hardcore substance use is emotional suicide.
Right.
Now the logic doesn't fully carry, but
Sure.
We just want to literally kill the pain.
Yeah.
The first time I did some good heroin is the first time I felt good in my soul since I was about 5. I had body memories of smells and things from when I was 5, like the smell of the dryer, the smell of the backyard. For $40, do you think I did it again?
Right.
And my point is this: it might kill you. Do you think I gave a shit?
Right. It feels so good in that moment.
You don't care if you die.
Yeah.
You know, going back to how you feel without the opiate.
Right.
It's not worth a chance.
Right.
And then there's the traditional physiological craving.
Right.
So during that time with Raj, I came to know in my heart that I had to abstain. I had to abstain from all substances and behaviors that were associative. I had to. And I am one of the few people I've ever met in my life that went to a detox and a residential treatment center with my heart in it wholly, and I went for me. That's because of Raj.
You went in for 30 days or a 28-day kind of thing?
Yeah, I think I was in the detox for 5 or 7 days.
Okay.
And then I did a 28-day program.
Yeah.
The reason I'm laughing is I told my story for years, saying that I went to a detox, and I'm describing it in my story, and this is in Sudbury, and then I went farther north. Somebody came up to me after several years of telling my story that way. Tom, there is no detox like that in Sudbury. I said, really? He says, I think you went to detox in North Bay. I'm like, no shit.
Yeah.
Really?
Learning your story, yeah.
Yeah, and then he says, well, go look at a map. And I went, it made more sense.
Yeah.
For where I was.
Yeah. So you do you said 8 months or whatever of one-on-one, go into a program, and then what happens after that? Did you do any other kind of programs, anonymous programs? Yeah.
One of the things to think about is that not eating messes your mind. Not sleeping messes your mind.
Sure.
Long term. Not having enough liquid, even though I was drinking all I could when I was able, and then going to no food, messes your mind. The long-term living in the chaos and urgency of the homeless, not knowing your future, not knowing if you're going to eat tomorrow, if you're going to sleep tonight, and if you're going to get killed. You live with that. It messes your mind. So I go to detox, and there were some interesting things happen in detox. I had some really cool and fun hallucinations. Yeah, they were fun. And I knew they were hallucinations.
Right.
I was like, wow. And I didn't have to take any life-threatening, because in those days, you swallow shit. You never know.
Sure.
Right? And, yeah, they were fun. And one of the things I watched, I had Tic Tacs. And I watched them morph while I was looking at them into a pill bottle. And I squeezed on it because I knew it was Tic Tacs. I said, what, you fucking hallucination? And I squeezed it. And then I opened my hand, and it was still a pill bottle. So I tried it with my mind, and it turned back into...
Right.
Yeah, and I saw somebody outside who couldn't be there, and I thought, oh, she's bringing me something like, I think it was apple crumble, which is my favorite dessert. Right? So these are pretty cool hallucinations.
Right.
And there's a big story about who she was and all of that, but they were nice. So apparently there was a misunderstanding about when I was coming. I got off the train with $13, and now I understand North Bay.
Right.
And they're like, who are you? We're full. I said, oh, shit. Anyway, they got me in.
Yeah.
And then I went up and did a 28-day program. And two things happened on day 18. I started, so this day 18 plus the detox. So probably 23 days.
Right.
I started to be able to think more clearly. And I had my first regular bowel movement in my adult memory.
Really?
Yeah.
And that stood out to you as significant, something that other people take for granted, I would assume.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you one thing, down on the street, I always had my wallet and I always had a comb, and under this armpit, I always had a roll of toilet paper.
Huh.
Always.
And that wasn't unusual to you?
No, it wasn't my normal. And anybody that came within 4 feet, I had a habit of going into a defensive pose and covering my wallet and my toilet paper. and I found myself doing that automatically into recovery, which I think all of a sudden is hilarious.
Yeah, in retrospect.
Yeah. Don't you come near my toilet paper.
Hey, we protect what's valuable to us, right?
Yeah, and cover your ass.
Yeah. Literally.
When I came back from that place, I didn't remember Jack. I didn't remember nothing.
Right.
And I was scared out of my mind, and I got in relatively quickly. I'm in Brampton, and Mississauga was a 3-week day program. Now, what happened is when I was held down and fed, and I slept in a bed there, even though I slept on the floor a lot, I did sleep in that bed there. I went to the 3-week day program 3 months later, and I was able to pay attention. I had people to talk to about it in the evening. And so when I had that moment of, what are you going to do? About a year and a half later, I went to the Credit Valley Drug and Alcohol Program. They didn't use the words, but they were very, very trauma-informed.
What does that mean, in your view, anyway, trauma-informed?
In this case, it allowed for our very complex emotional needs. And the momentum of having lived under threat and what it did to our souls, and the way we would attach ourselves to the program. For example, they told us right at the beginning it's 3 weeks long, and every day they mentioned, okay, 2.5 more weeks. Every Monday we talked about 2 weeks left, 1 week left, and they know that when the program is over, some of us would freak. I did, because it was the first safe place I'd had since I was 5.
Right.
And they had a binder and all these lessons that at the time I thought they were all freaking stupid. They brought in a dietitian. Here's me. You think if I eat yogurt now, it's going to save my ass? Do you know that if I, and a woman comes in and talks to us about breathing. Breathing? And I'm like, are you out of your mind? I was breathing the whole time when I wasn't a drunk, then I became a drunk, then I almost died, and I'm still breathing. And so a year later, we got a newsletter, and I'm on the phone. Hi, remember me? Will you write an article for our newsletter?
Yeah. About breathing? or
now breathing is what I talk about a lot.
Sure, yeah. Well, so how long have you been sober now since all this went down?
22 years or
22
so.
years. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. And what have you been working on since then? You've been using this experience since then, it sounds like, to help others.
Yes, in 2 stages. When I was first in recovery and had achieved substance and chaos, for me they are equal, for many of us that are. Leaving the chaos and urgency was harder than leaving the substance.
Interesting, yeah.
The chaos and urgency feeds all the same chemical shit in your brain.
Right.
But it also gives you identity.
Right. Creating a chaos to respond to, you mean? Like that kind of living on the edge
it's a shield
thing?
From the real world.
Sure, yeah.
I can't do that. I can't go to the birthday. I can't apply for a job. You know what I mean?
Right. Is that what you become addicted to, the chaos?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's not just chaos.
Right.
It has to have urgency.
Urgency, yeah.
Because chaos can be a messy house.
Right.
Chaos could be my desk right now.
Right.
Right? People say to me, I don't know much about your organization. I'm like, organization? You've never seen my desk. Right?
Yeah.
And but the chaos and urgency,
Yeah.
and it's more addictive than heroin,
Right.
which is, the big one. So I was going to 3 meetings a week to keep myself between the rails. One of them was educational and at the Credit Valley Hospital. And I was going to one AA meeting with one field and another meeting. And it was getting on my nerves because I was trying to work. I had a little business going. So I started one meeting with the best pieces of all those. And we called it, CAST, which is come and sit together. And it was totally open. We had really good ground rules. And I did that for a few years while I had a wood shop. I was making various things in my wood shop. And it actually grew. At one point, there were 5 meetings. There were people going and starting meetings that I didn't even know. There was a women's meeting. There was a family meeting. There was another one. What was that? And it was, in terms of helping people, the core of my life. I got a small grant, and then I was out promoting the meetings. We made a binder. You want to start a meeting? Here you go. And a website. And I was out talking about the groups, and I kept getting invited back to talk about my story and the practical reasons why the group had the rules it did and why we stuck to them.
What kind of rules?
Always start on time.
Right.
We read the ground rules of conduct out loud at every meeting, even if it was only regulars there. We always quit on time. People need to be able to count on the space.
Yeah.
Religion, bring your own, we'll support you, don't ram it down our throats. That was it. And it was found to be a safe place. And then I started to do speaking, and that's when I realized, speaking about my own story, I was getting asked out a lot to speak, which was, for me, really cool at first, because I was a lot closer to the street than who I am now.
Right.
And the real reason I went wasn't the $40 grocery card. I went because I thought to myself, and this is true, I remember I would shave my neck. So my body hair made me look like I had a face, right? I had to shave my neck. And I would shave my neck and put on a relatively clean shirt. Because in my life, where else am I going to be in a room with 30 women who wash every day and have jobs? This doesn't happen to me.
Right.
Rock and roll. Yeah, I'll drive to Oakville. I'll be right there. Hello. So I had a lot of fun at first.
Sure.
But I realized right away, these people didn't know jack shit about trauma.
Yeah.
And that's really all we dealt with in the church basement. We didn't use the word trauma in the church basement. We used the word shit. So we would warn people right away. Okay, you got a month sober. At AA, they think and act. They act like you won the Olympics. It's literally crazy. You got to make a movie about that. You'd have to hire some really good actors. Because they literally, and you're the center of attention, and you talk to your mom for the first time in a decade, and you're crying, and everybody's so happy for you. 3 months, man, your mom's phoning you. Why don't you have a job?
Right.
Nobody's giving you attention. They're saying, please make the coffee. And you're at home alone. You don't have a job yet. And your shit will surface, which is all the emotions you've been oppressing and suppressing. And it can be catastrophic. So we would prepare people. And that is what we did. And we did a lot of that. And the ground rules and the formats contained all of that and honored it all. The focus is what's going to keep you from having a good day tomorrow. What's going to keep you, not triggers, not God will save you, you can't save yourself. No. So it was very popular. So when I was out doing speaking, I started to do speaking. I realized they didn't know about trauma. So I did the only thing that made sense. I phoned the author of the latest book about trauma. She ended up being the CEO of the Canadian Mental Health Association Ontario division at the time. And I had done some work for them. So they gave me a bit of her time. She came and did a training for free, and she taught me how to do trainings. She charged half price for the next training, charged full pop for the next one, then didn't do any more for me. But that got me started on doing trainings. That and some friends of mine that were in business and supported me in how to do that. Within a year, I shut down my wood shop, and I was out doing speeches and panels and workshops and holding small conferences.
Did you ever find at any point in this process, especially early on, that digging up these stories of your past and maybe stuff that you haven't fully processed yet, or maybe you had, I don't know, but was it hard for you to keep digging these things back up for other people's benefit?
how do I say this? It was extremely hard work, but it was hard work I was capable of doing and confident in doing. One of the things I'll say here that I very rarely say out loud is the bulk of the work I was doing was destigmatizing emotions in general. I could go up to any microphone and cry the whole time, but I always would break into crying a little bit and never, ever apologize. And I could make a whole room of people cry. I'd rather make them a little uncomfortable and make them think. I had a friend that was literally addicted, and this is fun to say that, but he was, to standing ovations. He told me he was on number 18 in a row. Sometimes I don't even get applause.
Because it's so real?
Yeah, and I challenge people.
Sure.
And so when they leave, everybody goes quietly from the room frowning. Yes.
I don't think that's... So I would probably lean more toward the addiction toward standing ovations than frowning. But, I get where you're coming from.
Well, one comes to mind because it was a very unique presentation, and it was the addiction field players from all over Central Ontario in the audience for all the wrong reasons. It was stupid.
Well, do you find, and have you found that, because I find this sometimes, the toughest audiences can be people when you're preaching to the choir sometimes, the people working in addictions, working in mental health, because you can't just go in there all the time and say that everything's rosy and great and everything you're doing is wonderful. Part of the role is to help them evolve as professionals, right?
Yeah, and there's more stigma in that field than in the general public. There's more stigma against people with substance use issues and traditional addiction. When we had that newsletter I talked about, we were all putting our full names on it because some people were in AA. Do you put, Bob C. and Bill K., right? And the only woman that didn't want her name there worked in the healthcare field. She said, if they find out I have an addiction, I won't lose my job, I'll lose my career.
Wow.
Nobody else cared. So the stigmas against people like I was at the beginning was very severe.
Now, CAST has evolved pretty substantially from church basements. Where are you at now?
We were running around the province doing workshops and selling out. If I went into the Niagara region, I booked one, and I booked the room exactly 4 weeks later because it would sell out, and I would do another one. That would have been 2004, 2005. Now, we're at a place where we're working to help make change at a different level. When I started, I was advised, don't use the word trauma in your title or nobody will come.
Why?
The stigma about it, fear of it. And I didn't. So we called it understanding addiction and yada, yada, yada. I don't even remember. And I would just say sometimes that you notice that we're talking about the pain and the suffering as opposed to the substance. We have a collection of sayings. One is it's never, ever about the substance. And it's not, ever.
Have you ever met anybody or heard a really convincing story from somebody who had an addiction to a substance of any kind who didn't have some sort of trauma or emotional upheaval or emotional dependency? Has there ever been just addiction without anything else?
Yes.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Remember I said I used to shave my neck?
Yeah.
One of the things I would do when I had a good speech is I'd go and get a retail haircut. Because normally I cut my own, which made the back kind of, if you're going to ask a girl for a date, just keep her in the
Don't let her see the back of your head. Yeah. Good dating advice.
But I would get a retail haircut.
Sure.
And the woman, her name was Rosanna, she told me about how her dad quit. And he drank either a 26 or a 40 every day of her life, and one day just quit. And I said, that's fascinating. So I asked some questions about him. And he had, what did he have? I use this as an exercise. You know what he had in place when he was physiologically addicted to rye? Everything that we help people get in addiction treatment. He had self-worth. He had supporting and loving family. He had money. He had a place to sleep. He also had the idea, and this is the single most important thing. His name was Lorenzo. He had the idea that if he worked hard now, he was worthy of the better future it will bring. And that is by far the largest piece. So I've been collecting stories of people who become physiologically addicted and quit. Every single time, they have all the key pieces in place. But the most important being sense of self, right? All those words, self-esteem, self-value, self-worth. And an idea that there can be a future, if I do some hard work now, I will have a positive future. And I'm worthy. When we were doing all the work with people in addiction, we did a lot. Mostly we did panels, 3 or 5 of us with history, and an audience of 30 to 50 health and helping professionals. One of the most common questions was, what if somebody had have offered you services? What if somebody said something? And the response right across the board, and I'll tell you something, all of us, addicts and trauma survivors, we use the phrase whack jobs, but they said that we shouldn't use that. So all of us wackos, we hardly agreed on anything.
Right.
But when the question came up, was there one thing that what we knew about the services? We didn't think we were worthy. That was the one or two universal things. So yes, people become physiologically addicted.
Sure.
And I've got more stories like that than you've had hot meals.
Sure. Yeah.
Over time, we hit the traditional Malcolm, whatever his name is, tipping point.
Malcolm Gladwell, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Tipping point.
Yes. And all of a sudden, trauma has become from taboo to the thing. Being trauma-informed is everywhere. And everywhere you go, there are people saying, I'm going to do training about traumas too. And I don't have an MSW or a PhD. And everybody knows my material came from condensing all the learnings from those 100 panels that we did. So we're basically going broke and reinventing right now. And plus, post-cancer, I'm tired. I don't have another reinvention in me of a full type. So we're doing conferences with world-renowned, fabulous speakers. And we only choose the best, and we only work with the best, and we only do the best. And we're looking for other ways to make a difference.
Yeah. What kind of cancer were you diagnosed with?
Well, it was fun for a public speaker. I got throat cancer.
Sure, yeah.
Right?
Do you think it was connected to the drinking?
No, but it was absolutely directed to the cocaine. So a friend, and I hope he hears this, was cutting it. He was a friend of mine. He was cutting it with shit that made the back of my throat raw. And it absolutely was the cocaine, we know for a few reasons.
Yeah. And it's in remission now? Or?
Yes. It was caught extremely early because it was visible in the back of my throat. It didn't do any damage before I went for treatment in Hamilton. Okay. The treatments dang near killed me.
Jeez. I can't imagine.
Yeah. But I lost the power of my voice, but I didn't lose my voice.
If you're concerned about somebody who's struggling, I think almost anybody listening to this probably has encountered this, even a parent or a brother, a sister, a close friend who's struggling with an addiction or with their mental health in general. What would you suggest that they do or say to them?
The first thing to do is think about why you care and how much you care and how much you're going to hate yourself if you don't do something appropriate. The thing is, you don't know what is appropriate. The next thing to do is think, you care about this person or you wouldn't be worried. Look sideways. If it's a painting, look at who else is in the painting. There isn't anybody in the world with only one caregiver. You should not carry the burden of intervening in the way you choose alone. There may be somebody who's more appropriate. It may be your best thing is to do, if it's your brother, it may be the best thing to do is support his wife in her ongoing efforts. Do you see? And phone them and have a really frank conversation. You either know things or you imagine that these things are true. Separate them out. Here's what we know. He's broke all the time. Here's what we know. We don't see him drinking, but he smells like booze. Right? Here's what we know, and here's what we think. Separate out knowns from unknowns and write them down and say so to whoever that other person is, the sister. And then, with your sister, look sideways further. Who else has influence over this fellow or this woman? And then choose an action. What you need to do is go back to the very beginning. I care, and I'm going to step out of my comfort zone. Make sure that when you start the action, that you already know about stepping back into your comfort zone. One of the things I do is meet people at coffee shops, ask for a conversation, because in a coffee shop, anybody can leave. it's a traditional thing for moms to trap their 15-year-old daughters in the car for a while and have a talk, you know. But this is the opposite, you know. Always have the door open for the individual to leave, and you know, it's an age-old idea. The "I love you" sandwich. You may not say "I love you," right? I could do a question like this with a friend. Look, we've been working together for a long time, and I've learned to have a lot of respect for you. But I'm really concerned about this, and I don't know what to do, and I don't even know how to talk about it. But here's what I see. And then you go to your list of what you know. If it's what you imagine, they'll fight it like a ninja. And I care about you. So that's the other piece of the sandwich. So it's I love you, and then the meat of the sandwich is you smell all the time and you're always broken. And I hate that. And it hurts me. But I love you, and when you make positive choices, I'll always be here. So with that sort of decision tree, you can always sleep at night, and the people around you are getting the support they need, including the people around the individual that you're concerned about, which are probably more important to that individual than you imagine. And it's a good plan. Then you sleep at night, and you sleep with a good conscience. When you've done that, turn the machine on again, make all those decisions again, and never say, I'm ending my relationship with you. I love you, but I can't have anything to do with you while you are making these choices. As long as you make these choices, I'm afraid I can't be around you. I have kids, I have anxiety of my own, I have my own issues, I've had to up my meds because of you, that kind of shit, right? And then just keep going and get support from those around you. And go back to your comfort zone. Always go back. You don't have to carry it with you all the time. The final saying is do your best and then rest.
Do your best and then rest. I like that. What would you tell somebody who's listening to this who's very much still in the grip of their addiction? What would you want them to know?
Two things. One is set aside the idea of abstaining right away. Back off and look at what you get from what you're doing and why. And then the other thing is pretend that there's a mirror with two images. One is you got to look at somebody you care about who cares about you, and look at them and you as one thing. Look at your connection, look at the person. How much do you care about them? How much do they care about you? And sit with that when you're at your best. The thing is, if you're going through, you know, copious amounts of drug use, and they're very different from each other, you know, coke and uppers and heroin and et cetera. Just get to your good place. Like I said, drink for the judge, right? Get yourself where you can be coherent and just sit with those things, right? And then reflect and choose. I got to the point where every time I picked up a beer, I'd look at it and say, do I really need you? I wouldn't stop.
Sure.
That was my advice from Raj. Don't stop, right? And then by the time I actually quit, I remember laughing because I had to have the beer because the physiological addiction was huge. Plus, I was going to detox the next day.
Right.
And I hated it. I loved beer. I loved it. And red wine. You know what? I could do a romantic, you know, PG-rated poem about my relationship with beer and red wine. But by the time I had my last beer, have you ever kissed somebody you've already broken up with? Because that's what it was like. You know that feeling? That's what it was like. I don't want this, but I poured it down my throat. So those two things, paying attention to what you're getting from, and another person, and paying attention to the unit that is your relationship and your friendship. Picture it as one thing. And then picture another person and sit with that and think about what you want. It doesn't matter who you are or what you've done. There are people that love you and care about you.
Tom, I'm speechless. You're such an inspiration, and I want to thank you for the work that you do, certainly for coming on the show and sharing your message. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
All right, that's it for Tom. Thank you so much for listening to that. He was just such a great guest to have. He came to play. He really, wanted to go deep into those conversations. So I hope that you took a lot from his, especially his advice on opening up about your experiences and getting through it. He's been through so much, and I think a really great example of how you can get through it too. Don't forget to look me up on Twitter and Facebook, to follow me there at Mark Hennick, at MarkHenick. You can also read more about me and about the show at markhennick.com/so-called-normal. Don't forget, please, to go on to iTunes or wherever you've accessed the podcast today and subscribe, to give us a rating, hopefully a really good rating. That'd be nice too, but whatever you really think. And tune in next week. We're gonna keep going ahead weekly. We've got lots of conversations here that I think are going to be really interesting for you. So that's it for me. Thanks for listening to So-Called Normal.